Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of TUF Coffee Shop Talk. I'm your host, Rhonda Lavoie. This week, I'm excited to bring you a replay of one of our most popular and truly foundational episodes: goals, action plans, and overcoming obstacles. As real estate agents, we're constantly setting targets, whether it's for the transactions, income, or personal growth. But knowing how to set effective goals, create actionable plans, and most importantly, stay on track when life throws you a curveball is a game changer. This episode dives into strategies like SMARTER, S-M-A-R-T-E-R, goal setting, and shares crucial insights on how to keep moving forward even if you miss a step. If you're looking to hit your mid-year targets or just need a powerful reset to drive your business forward, this is for you. If you're finding value in these conversations, and as always, if you're finding value in these conversations, please consider hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss a future episode. Now, let's get into this powerful replay. This past Thursday, we talked about goals and action plans. And the reason that this conversation came up, or I thought it would be suiting to discuss at TUF Collaborative, is because I've recently created what's called Rhonda's Monthly Success Planner. It's a 2-page document that I have taken all of the things that I do for my daily or weekly or monthly routine and put into 2 pages so that I can help other people try and implement some of these things so that they can see some of the successes that I've seen in my life. There's things on it like gratitudes and affirmations, progress tracker, and goals and action plans. Plus, there are reflections and evaluations for achievements, challenges, what worked, what didn't work. For this week's TUF Collaborative, I wanted to focus specifically on goals and action plans. And just like every week, I go and I do a bunch of research because I'm not the professional, or I'm not the expert, let's say, in this area, but I want to be able to bring thought-provoking questions to the group just so that we can start thinking a little bit differently to try and grow and stretch together. So when I went and started doing the research, I, of course, came across what's called SMART goal setting, or SMART being an acronym of SMART, which is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And it fit really well, but then I continued my search and I found what's called SMARTER goal setting. And it's very, very similar. It just adds the So you still have the specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, but now it's added evaluate and revise. And that's the part that I felt really fit well with my Rhonda's Monthly Success Planner, simply because that's a big part of how I do my life, how I plan my goals, how I work my monthly activity. But before I dive into the SMARTER goal setting discussion, I want to talk about two things. First off, it's June. This isn't a typical time to be planning your goals, setting your goals. Typically, people will set them at the beginning or the very end of the year, focused on the next following year. But I challenge that in a little bit. Like I agree to setting annual goals. That is not something that I disagree with. But I believe that traditionally, we set goals, especially around that New Year's time, so like resolutions. We set them without intent or actions. So we set them, maybe we'll journal about them, we might even write them down, but then that piece of paper that they're written on gets to the bottom of the pile, or the journal gets forgotten about, and we don't execute on them. And then we become the end of the year and we reflect many months later and determine that we aren't even close to achieving our goals because we've lost sight of them and haven't taken any action to get there. So I thought the end of June would be a great time to have this conversation with the TUF Collaborative members, because we're partway through the year, almost halfway. And what a better time to actually reset our focus on our goals than halfway through. So I guess my point is, please don't just set your goals and forget about them. You need to come back to them. And secondly, there's never a wrong time to set goals. If you want to set a goal on the middle of June or the middle of August or whatever, tomorrow, you just wake up and go, I'm going to set a goal. That is okay. It's actually amazing, because if you say, well, I'll set goals, but I'm going to wait until the end of the year, you just lose all that time to be able to try and achieve your goal. So don't get sucked into the idea that goals are only meant to be set annually and at the end of the year, or the very beginning of the year. It's certainly a time that's possible, but don't restrict yourself in that regard. So yes, that's the first topic that I wanted to cover. Is the beginning or the end of the year is not the only time to be setting goals. You may set goals anytime within the year. So that's why I thought June was a great time to have this conversation. The other piece that I want to talk about before I get into the smarter goal setting techniques is, if you set a goal and you have actions that are assigned to it and you miss one of those actions, please do not beat yourself up. And please do not think that that means you need to start over later or in the future or start over in general. And I'll give you an example. Many resolutions are often, I want to lose weight, and it will be, I'm going to go to the gym 3 days a week. Then you start, say, tomorrow. So I'm going to go to the gym 3 days a week starting tomorrow. And then you get up tomorrow and you don't go to the gym. So first off, don't beat yourself up about it, because beating yourself up for it is not going to have any value. But then what happens is often we'll be like, I'll start again next week. So instead of taking the next action or continuing with your plan to the second day in the week that you would go to the gym, we often tell ourselves that we'll start again next week. So then we miss 2 more in that week. And as I'm saying this, the more I realize it sounds ridiculous what we do to ourselves, but we do it all the time. So you miss the action. Oh, well, I'll start again next week, and we'll miss these 2 days. My challenge to everyone is, if you miss a day, don't beat yourself up, but also do not give your permission to tell yourself that you will start again next week. Give yourself permission to continue with your plan, because it is much harder to start something than to continue something. So if I say I'm going to start again next week, that first day in the week is going to be equally as hard as the one that you just missed. But if you give yourself permission to continue, the second day to the gym will be easier than that first one in the following week. There's less pressure on it. So please, if you miss it, do not say I'm going to start again. Just continue with your plan. Start that action. Give yourself that permission to be able to start in the middle of something. It's very against our nature. We don't like to start in the middle of anything. We like to start at the beginning and see the progress to the end. But I dare to say that your progress, I dare to say that you're actually not starting in the middle. You already started. And your next continued is continuing that process. So yes, that's the second thing I wanted to talk about before we talk about smarter goals. So just to recap again, the first one is timing. Doesn't matter when you set goals, just set goals. Does not have to be a specific time of the year. And the second being, if you miss a step, say you were supposed to go to the gym, or I'm supposed to do this many times in a week, and you miss one, give yourself permission to just continue and not have to start over. Okay, thanks for listening to my rant. Those are 2 of the things that I believe in. But let's get into the smarter goal setting. So smarter, specific is the S. Articulate clear and detailed objectives, break down broader goals into specific tasks, ensure goals are explicit and unambiguous. So be specific. It's pretty straightforward. So if you say, I want to lose weight, it's not very specific, because when you lose 1 pound, you've achieved your goal, and you can con yourself into believing that you've achieved your goal. But if you say, I will lose 10 pounds by Christmas, or by Valentine's Day, or whatever the date is, that's a very specific. One way to look at it is, if you told your goal to your 5-year-old child, or your 5-year-old self for that matter, would it be clear what you're wanting to achieve? So be specific. So I want to lose 10 pounds by Christmas. I want to read 3 days a week going forward. I want to go to the gym 2 days a week. I want to, for me, this is the example that I used at TUF Collaborative, I want to add 10 new members to the membership a month. That's my goal. Very specific. The next in the smarter, so the M is measurable. Establish concrete metrics for tracking your progress. Define milestones and create a celebration. For me, on my Rhonda's Monthly Success Planner, I have at the bottom what's called a progress tracker. And it's a bunch of lines. It's basically like a chart. You've got, on the left, you have the list of the things that I want to achieve. So 10 new members as an example. And then I have day 1 through 30 for the month of June. So a column for each of those. And as I achieve things, so for instance, say I'm going to go to the gym 3 days a week, you would put an X in the days that you went to the gym. So then you can have the satisfaction of going, I did that. I did 3 days this week. I did 3 days the next week. And then when you get to the end of the month, you're like, I did that. I actually did more. I went 4 this week. So make it measurable, something that you can track your progress. 2 things will happen there. 1, at the end of the month, you can see if you were successful, if you were doing the things you said you were doing. But 2, it'll give you satisfaction to put the little X's or to create that tracking. The next is, when you achieve your goal, how will you celebrate? So for instance, when I get, see how I keep changing that? I say if and then when. Please do that too. But anyway, that's a whole other podcast. When I get 10 new members in a month, I will buy coffee for everybody at the membership. That'll be my celebration, because it's a team effort. Everybody's working together, and I want to celebrate with everybody. So that's how I would celebrate. So measurable is make it trackable and create a celebration at the end. The next is A for achievable. So, and this one's probably one of the most important steps. Be sure to set achievable, realistic goals. You do not want to set your goals too high where you know that they're not achievable. When you set them, you know you'll simply not get there, because you will not have the drive or the desire to do the things to even try, because you know you can't. You know that that's not achievable. Like for instance, with my goals for the membership, for me to say I'm going to put 20 members into the membership in a month is unrealistic, or even worse, 50. Like that would be a very unrealistic goal for me to set for myself. Setting a goal of 10 makes it not easy, because I've already done, a little less than that in a month. So it's a bit of a stretch for me, but it's achievable. And then the opposite could happen if you were to set an unrealistic goal on the lesser side. So a goal that you could attain because you've done it many times before. So if I were to set a goal of, 3 members in a month, well, I'm not going to work very hard, because I know it'll likely just happen on its own. I don't even have to put in the effort. So it's not going to push me and help me grow and, test my limits and help me improve my skills, because it's not hard to achieve. So just make sure that you have goals that are achievable, but make you stretch and grow to try and get there. And then there's the R in SMART. R is for relevant. Make sure that your goals are relevant to your values and your aspirations, or your overall arching goal, your bigger picture. Because if you have a goal that is misaligned, it's going to be very challenging to achieve that goal, because as you're doing the tasks, they don't match with what you're trying to do as a big picture. So then you'll lose your way so much easier, and your motivation just won't be there. So make sure that when you set each of these monthly goals, that they are relevant and they align with what it is that you're trying to achieve at a bigger picture. And last in SMART is time bound. So create yourself some realistic deadlines. If you have to, break them into smaller goals so that you can have tighter timelines. As an example, I could have a goal to get 40 new members or 40 members in the membership by the end of the year. But I've broken that down into 10 because achieving that in a smaller time period allows me to have a sterner focus and motivates me to try harder because the date comes sooner. Because if I were to do the 40, I'd be halfway there and maybe only have 10 and start to panic. Where if I have these monthly goals of 10, when I'm getting closer, I'm going to work harder to try and get to that 10, and then 10 again the following month, and then 10 again the month after. So the chances of me achieving the 40 are much more realistic, simply because I've broken them into 10 chunks. So that's the SMART goal setting. The which I think is crucial, is evaluate and revise. And I think this is a piece that many of us miss when it comes to our goals. We'll often set them, and we may even do the action plans to implement them, but we don't reassess or we don't evaluate and revise to continue having progress. So with evaluate, you need to look at your achievements for the past month. So what are the milestones? What goals did you make? What was your proudest achievement that month? And then you're going to look at your challenges. What was your biggest challenge? How did you overcome it? And then what worked and what didn't? So as an example, you may have that 3 days a week that you want to go to the gym, and you consistently hit that 3 days a week and even did the extra day one week. So when you do that evaluation, you may be like, am I not challenging myself enough? Could I go 4 days a week? Does that make sense? Is that going to get me to my goal sooner? And your big goal might be to lose 10 pounds or to, get 6-pack abs or whatever your goal might be. So by evaluating that, instead of just continuing to do 3 days a week for the rest of the year, when you evaluate at the end of the month, you may be like, oh, actually, I could do 4 days a week. And then you'll up that so that you can achieve your goal potentially faster. And the opposite can happen. So you can evaluate it and go, okay, I did not do 3 days a week once in the entire month, but I did 2. And that was hard, but I was able to do it. So I'm going to revise my goal for next month to be 2. And don't think of that as a failure or a lesser, because if you're not cautious and you continue, say, in the next month to say 3 a month, and then you don't do it, you continue to feel as if you're failing, which could derail you entirely and remove the 2 days a week that you actually are going. So when you evaluate and you revise, and 2 days a week makes more sense after you've put in the effort, and you know that you can be pushing yourself a little but successful, then it should be the 2 days a week, because you could sacrifice it all and end up with 0 days a week if you try and leave it at 3. So that's why evaluating your successes monthly is important, because it will help you ensure that you're moving forward in the right direction constantly. When I said originally it was you could lose traction, or you could, sorry, I'll say that again. You could set 3, but be able to achieve 4, but continue to do 3 because that's what you set, where you're not actually going to, push yourself, and you'll still achieve your goal, but you could achieve it sooner. Or the opposite, where you could set yourself up for failure because you're trying to do 3, but 2 is only realistic, continuing to try and get 3, but only getting 2 will make you feel bad, and then eventually make you stop altogether because you're failing. And I use that word begrudgingly because I don't love it, but I know it'll get the point across. So with the of smarter, evaluate and revise is really important, because it'll help you grow, help you stay in tune with what your goals are, and help you reevaluate to be able to hit your successes potentially faster or more efficiently, or in general, consistently, all of those things. So smarter goal setting. I'll touch on it one more time here. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, evaluate, revise. If anybody is interested in getting their hands on a free copy of Rhonda's Monthly Success Planner, I would be more than willing to supply it to anybody who's interested. I will actually be creating the July one here shortly and be advertising it, putting on my social media for people to be able to go download. But if you're looking to get started sooner, please go to tufinstitute.com and look under the courses and coaching. It will be listed there as a product. It's a free download. You just have to go in, hit your email address in there and hit send, and it'll be coming to your inbox. If you cannot find that, you can just DM me or send me an email at rhonda@tufsaskatoon.com. Well, that concludes our episode this week. Thanks so much for being here. It really does mean a lot to me. If you haven't already, please subscribe or hit that follow button, as I'd love if you came back week to week. If you're looking for more information on the membership, check out tufinstitute.com. Or if you want more info on me and my real estate business, check out theurbanfarmhousesaskatoon.com. Looking for my socials? I'm on Instagram at RhondaLavoie_TUF and on Facebook at The Urban Farmhouse Saskatoon or Rhonda Lavoie - The Urban Farmhouse and eXp Realty. Reach out anytime. I'd love to hear from you. I really hope you have a marvelous day, and I can't wait to bring you an episode again next week.